Hello, everyone, and welcome real quick. I'm just going to do this video showing you exactly what to expect, how to use this script, the 6FTC breakout indicator. So it's got so much built in here. And of course, there's some updates coming. But for today, we're going to keep it very simple and just talk about how to use it, how to get it, et cetera, et cetera. So if you don't currently have access, you're going to see the link above. All you need to do is click that link. You'll see it come up and you can favorite that script. So for example, it's going to, well, that's going to be on the website. So after you get that, you're going to need to email in to Futrix, and you're going to email in your your TradingView username. So for example, if I click up here, mine is Jenny B 6FTC. We need that name to go ahead and add you to the script. So once you've done that, give the team a good, couple of hours to get you approved. You're going to be able to come back into here, go to your favorites, and then you'll be able to add it from your chart from there. So now that you've got it, you're going to see it. It's going to look something like this. Please ignore the version 2. We're going to be beta testing that here for a little while, and then we're going to have that released as well. Super exciting stuff there. But for today, let's keep it really simple. As you can see, this is a really simple concept. It's literally a breakout box. That's all it is. Breakout box, midline shows 50%. Blue line on above is showing you 100% or 2 standard deviations away from the actual box, right? Purple is 100% or 2 standard deviations, depending on which thing you're following, et cetera, et cetera. That's it. So for example, if we're taking this trade at the break, no retest, no close right here, and we're putting our stop loss on the other side, our take profit here, that's a 1-to-1. Now, granted, we could have also done what? We could have said, hey, our stop loss is here. We're going to lock profit as we get to 1-to-1, and we're going to be going for more. In this case, you get a 4-to-1. That's awesome. But if you had locked profit at 1-to-1, you got what? You get knocked out. Okay. You can also decide, hey, I'm going to let this come up to that 50% range. And I'm going to go to just that one range R, and that's cool. You can do that too. Ultimately, this is very, very simple. This is not very complex at all. However, the tool is something that all by itself is just second to none, super exciting to use, and it's got a lot of cool features built in. So let's talk about it. As you can see, for the most part, we're going to have that up at 9:30 a.m. Little demo account. It says paper trading, see? For the most part, we're going to have this up at 9:30 a.m. That's the New York Open. And we also have the 6FTC 8 p.m. Sydney breakout, right? This is an awesome time to trade because you're not going against all the banks. You're not going against all the big volume. But you're going to come in here and you're going to see that you have tons of options even outside of that. For now, comes standard, you're going to see 8 p.m. and you're going to see 9:30. So what do you see on the chart? All it's telling you right now is it's painting out the sessions if you just decide to have that fit. It's showing you how many contracts based off of the risk that you've predetermined and how many ticks that range is. So you'll notice right now I'm on MES. If I go to the 15-minute time frame, I'm not maybe going to have that many contracts, right? If I go to NQ, 0 contracts, 0 contracts, 0 contracts. But if I go to MNQ, at least I get some 1 contract. If I go to a smaller time frame, just clicking around to show you, super fast, super efficient. You get 4 contracts because the size of this range, the number of ticks in this range is different. So it means the risk that we predefined, you have enough room to take that because most people came in futures and was like, holy cow, this is easier than I thought it was. It's just an easy way to trade. It's an easy way to be. This is going to be so easy. But then they don't know how to determine the risk. So the purpose of this information is invaluable, super, super helpful to have. Please make sure you go in and type in the actual risk you want to have based off of the account that you're using. But let's go on and take a look. So coming into the settings, okay, starting from the top. I'm going to move this over to the left. You'll notice this is all pretty self-explanatory. Very, very easy to follow. In this video, we're kind of going over every single thing you need to know to use this script to be profitable in futures. Starting with visibility, you've got ticks, seconds, all those things. So basically, if you're the person who says, hey, I want to see the 1 hour, I want to see it, I don't want to see it on all the other time frames, or I want to be able to mark up the bigger time frames and not see that breakout box, I only want to see it when I'm on the small time frame, you can do that. If you want to say, hey, I'm tired of getting tripped up by the smaller time frames, you can do that, right? You have tons of options here, but all this setting is telling you is that which time frame you want to see it on or where you don't want to see it. Very easy, very self-explanatory. Working our way backwards, you've got boxes, lines, and labels. It's just a great place to start because if I turn off the box, that middle disappears, right? That's the box. If I turn off the lines, keep my box on, it's just showing you the box, right? Very clean, very, what do they call dim or very petite, okay? Very easy to see. You can do that too, depending on what your preferences are. And of course, you can turn off the session the pane label if you don't want to see that in terms of contract sizes. And ultimately, you got tons of options. So now you know what all those features do. Personally, I like to have it just like this. Now, you might not. At the end of the day, it's going to be 100% up to you. Going into inputs, now we're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff really fast, shotgun this thing, so you can get an idea how to make this work for you based off of your time schedule, your availability, and of course, we want to be tracking volume in the market. But let's start at the top. Up at the top, it says set up line range. You'll notice how far across this goes. If I change this to 20, wait for it. Oh, it gets smaller, right? All that is telling us is how much of a range. So in this case, because we're on the 2-minute candle, that's 20 2-minute candles. If you're on the 15-minute candle, 15-minute time frame, it'll be 20 15-minute candles. So just so you know, it's not necessarily minutes you're tracking, it's the amount across the screen, how many bars you're tracking. Personally, I usually have mine set to about 30 or 40. It's going to be up to you. That gives me enough room to say, hey, I've either found my trade or I'm going on with my life. Or maybe you're the person who says, hey, look, this is my session I'm trading. I want to see this thing long term. I want to see what it does before, during, and after. And then I'm going to move on. So really cool feature there. You get to completely customize this. That's what makes this so different. It's very customizable, very user friendly, but also it applies to the user in a way that most of the things out there just simply don't. Next, you're going to see risk. Right now, you can see we're on MNQ. We're on, what is this, 2-minute time frame, 161 ticks. If I was trading a huge account and I said, hey, I want to risk $2,000, I'm going to be trading 24 contracts. If I'm trading a small account and I'm trying not to risk more than $175 on my $50,000 eval, for example, I would still only be trading 2 MNQ on the 2-minute time frame. Because again, that's a lot of ticks, right? So this is set based off of the size of this box, okay? So 161 ticks by the pip and point amount. If you're trading, like we talked about at the very beginning, with this whole range as your stop loss, you're going to use 2 contracts. If you're trading with about half that range as your stop loss, we know you can use 4 contracts, right? So we know that this number is based off of the size of the box that you're trading, based off of where you're going to be placing your stop loss approximately. It's never going to be exact, never going to be perfect, but just a really good parameter for you to work with. Next, you're going to see session. Time frame line. This one right here, super customizable, super cool, super 1 million. So we're on the 2-minute right now, which means this zone that we're drawing is based off of the 2-minute time frame. If I click this and change this to be part of the 15-minute, wait for it, now we're still on the 2-minute time frame, but we're only viewing the zone after the 15-minute candle has appeared and painted. Then it's giving us the entire 15-minute candle as well as the 15-minute range, if you noticed, okay? So it's giving us a completely different setup, if you will, completely different strategy even. Lots of different uses here. Maybe you say, hey, I want that faster entry on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-minute candle, but I want to look at the bigger time frame, the 10 or the 15 or the 30-minute of the day. And that's how I want to find those entries. You can do that with this setting, which is pretty awesome. Of course, you can have a label on there, yes or no. You can say, hey, I want no label. That's that label that just appeared and disappeared. I think it's very helpful to keep this on at least to some extent, because sometimes, like myself, you might have come in here and twiddled with something and not know exactly what you're trading. So in my case, I don't usually mess with this, so I can afford to have it off. If you do mess with it, I would recommend you not having that label off. I'd definitely keep it turned on. So that's what that label does there. That label can be in the center, the right, the left. You can put it wherever you want it. Turn that back on. I can put that at the top of the box. I can put that at the bottom of the box or the left of the box, for example. all things that you might decide that you want to do. So again, the whole theme here, customizable. As we move on, this is where it gets just, there's so many cool things as part of this that I'm super excited to share with you. As you know, we really simplifies it. We said, hey, it's just a breakout indicator, and it is. However, this is a good time to say, YouTube went viral a few months ago with the whole orb concept and 15-minute opening range break. And that little fad is going to come and go and die out just as quick as it started. It's been cool the last few months because the last few months is volume. Since Trump, and all the things going on, stock market booming late last year, crypto booming. Now, of course, we have all the tariff stuff and all the political nonsense. Right now, great time for that. However, there's quite a few things to say about orb, okay? About 15-minute opening range breaks, but all of it. Number one, it's not new. The big dog thing was what, decades and decades old, okay? London breakout is decades and decades old. There's been some version of a breakout strategy for eons, right? Probably older than most of us and definitely longer than most of us have been trading. Now, I say that to say it's a great time to target. However, there are other times, which is why we have this built this way. My favorite times still to trade aren't all going to be New York Open. Okay. My favorite time is still what we're calling the six-figure trading coach. So the 6 FTC, 8 p.m. Sydney breakout. Right now, again, let's talk the good and the bad. There's so much volume in Asia and it's a great time. Now, granted, in years to come, we'll see. Maybe you might have to kind of move that around by an hour or two because volume is moving. It's just not big enough at 8 p.m. anymore. Right now, it happens to be. And I personally find getting that couple of ticks or points in Asian without having to go against the huge banks and wild swings to be a very stress-free, easy trading session. But that's not all. If you're around for London breakout, you can tailor this to be around London. If you're around for lunchtime, if you're around for some other times, I have about 4 particularly that I love. You can tailor that. For anybody who knows anything about London breakout, you already know that technically you didn't target the hour that London breakout happened. You targeted the hours before, the minutes before. So you can do that here too. When I say completely customizable, I mean completely customizable. Get creative on how to use that. All this, the box you're really going to want to pay attention to is this first one. If you're trying to draw a zone, think the session zone. That's where these come in. If you don't care so much about the session zones, you don't need to worry about that second time or the color. That's just going to give you the session zones on the chart. Go a little bit further. This is super key. Kind of the pain in the butt, but we cannot answer this for you. UTC plus whatever is going to change a few times a year, and we can't give you that answer. So, for example, right now, in the last 2 weeks or so, this has recently changed again because we were off from London by an hour for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then it was again 6 months before that because of London, because of all the daylight savings time stuff. So, I implore you, if you're trying to do what you think is New York Open, based, 9:30 Eastern, you know what 9:30 Eastern is compared to your time. Come double check it. Either way, at the end of the day, you'll be able to click on this and you'll be able to know, hey, Mexico City, -6. And this will change and can change. Of course, you can always revert back to using exchange traded time or UTC. Not my fan, but you have that option. So super important. Make sure you have that set properly. Otherwise, it won't work properly. And then you're going to say, well, why doesn't it work? Because you didn't do the math. So there's that. Session label, we already went over that. If you want the session label on, you can have it on. If you want it boxed, you can have that on with the colors. Totally up to you. I've had it on historically or off. It doesn't make a huge difference. And now we get into some really cool stuff. So I'm going to see if I can't get a little bit more on screen here. Maybe take that off. There we go. Come back here. Give us a little bit of a fighting chance for a little bit more on screen. So coming down to the super fun parts. Super fun. Why do I keep doing that? So good at this. Okay. All the way down here. Pip count. I said this is super important. Now, granted, if you find it to be in your way or you're not using it or you already have some predetermined risk, by all means, turn it off. But this is really, really, really a useful tool if you're trying to be accurate with your trading plan and actually follow it. This will change your life if you actually let it. So you can change the background color if you so deem worthy. You can do all kinds of things. I personally like it turned off. I like it a little bit smaller, much smaller to kind of give you an idea. That's too small. I'm a little bit too vision impaired for that, but they like small, fair. That's kind of how I like mine looking. For the purpose of the remainder of this video, I'm going to turn it off, but that's how we do that, just so you guys have that setting in mind. Now let's talk about arrows. So as we talked about, this is just a breakout strategy, right? But the whole point of having the arrow is it can work with alerts and it can work with automation and it can do a whole bunch more than just be something on the screen that paints an arrow, right? Super, super relevant of how this works. As you know, before I put my foot in my mouth, we are on chart time on the 2-minute, not the 15-minute. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down, chart time, 15-minute. I typically have these turned off. You might find that they're lovely on. So starting with the actual arrow, let's go ahead and turn that on for a second. You will see we had our breakout here. We retested. Didn't come back up to retest. We did, probably these are going to count as some retests here. We got our break. All the break needs to happen for this to paint is we need the candle to close on the other side of that line, okay? If it wicks down, it's going to appear like it's there, but if it comes back up before the close of that candle, which again, we have no control over, it comes back up before the close of that candle, it's not going to stay there. It will repaint. So these are stable. They will not repaint provided the candle is closed. If you're looking at an open candle, they are still adjusting and forming, so that's where they go. But let's just use this as an example. Again, not trying to cherry pick, but to show the good, the bad, and the ugly. Retests. Like we talked about early on, there's so many uses for this strategy, right? You can take the break, you can take the retest, you can wait for the close, you cannot wait for the close. Management styles are different. The amount of options are just simply endless. This right here gives a great example as to how. I'm going to turn this off for a second and just kind of show some different examples. But we come in here, we hit a 1-to-1 target. We retest, we probably hit a 5-to-1 target based off of wherever we're messaging. Oopsie. Okay, back to this real quick. Sorry for that pause. I'll have to come back in and hopefully edit that. But here we go. The arrows. Let's take a peek. How does this exactly work? When we close down here and we come all the way back up, the way we manage this is at the end of the day always going to be key. So I'm going to close this out and I'm going to use our handy dandy tool. I just find it to be super, super easy. Here's our first entry. Okay. One down. We're using the fullness of that range. That's our 1-to-1, right? It's not going to be exact, very small time frame, very small candles. You guys get the idea. We'd enter in literally at the break. We can do so with the pending order. We'd be closing or heading, scheduling our target for right here. Super easy trade. They won't always win. You will get jerked around. You're going to wick back up and get knocked out quite a lot if you're just taking breaks. However, once you get that extension and a retest, that's why I have this arrow being so much bigger. It's because while they don't appear as often, they're not always perfect. They're way more confirmed entries. The same concept. You get your retest, you close below. You can take out partials. You can lock it 1-to-1. And ultimately, let's take a look. There we go. Almost a 5-to-1. Ooh, that was pretty close. I think it is a 5-to-1. Yeah, baby. There you go. 5-to-1. Literally a 5-to-1 trade. Not a lot of drawdown. The reason why these arrows are so important is because when you get this alert to come in, okay, because that's what the purpose of this is doing, is it's going to give you an alert. It's a visual pleasing thing as well, but it's going to give you an alert when this forms. Obviously, by the time this one formed and is stable, that's 2 minutes later. This candle that spends the next 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 minutes retesting. That gives you your confirmed entry, especially if you're on these smaller time frames. Bigger time frames, you don't have that as much. When you get this retest candle, 2 minutes have passed, you literally are getting that alert stably right here. Okay. So right here is where you're getting an alert. This one, you're getting the alert depending on how you're setting up your alert systems, but at the closed bar means you're not getting it until down here. So super, super important things. Again, it's going to go back into management. You guys have so many options in terms of mental stop loss, physical stop loss, allowing it to come wick inside the range, but not close above 50%, using the whole amount, using the other side. I've seen people doing some wild things with this, but ultimately a really, really cool experience across the board. So I'm going to close that. And the last thing I'm going to show you is how to set up the alerts. So let's double check what we have here. You'll notice on the chart, I only have one thing really showing, and that's our breakout indicator. So if I right click on the chart, I can come all the way down, remove my not drawings, add an alert on MNQ, right? So I'm going to click on that. I can go into here. I'm going to go into version 1. Hopefully it's version 1. And say, hey, when it's crossing up, when it's crossing down, it's only two things, right? I can choose the time frame I want the signal to come from. Only once per bar close, or once per minute. That's going to be super important. But you do have to set one up for both up and down. Unfortunately, there's no really good workaround around that. Either way, you have to have it up or up. Oh, this one's a strategy. That's why that's working better. But you need to have that set for up. Once per bar close. That's how I'm going to do it. Open-ended alert. If you don't have this option, it's because of the membership you have on TradingView. But usually you have a couple of months that you can kind of choose from. You can even custom the tag name and say, hey, and then Q, breakout, message. Let's say something along the lines of 2-minute breakout. Okay. Buy side. And that means I can come, I know the contracts, and you can even have it programmed to kind of send with you the contract sizes and tick values. So when you get this information, it's ready to go. You come, you analyze, you take your trade, you manage accordingly, and you go on with your life. So kind of an awesome way to be. And then that's it. So you kind of turn those alerts on and off, and you'll be able to get alerted and notified no matter what you're doing at the 1 or 2 times a day you want to trade. Follow your trade plan. It kind of just helps you with every single aspect. But I think that kind of covers every single thing you need to know about this particular version of the 6FTC breakout indicator uses, strategies, and settings. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you live in class on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays for the next few weeks. And then you'll see me live in class for Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we have some really cool things that are coming your way. So as always, thank you for watching. Take care and God bless.